Aloha, this is Sandra Surfing. Welcome to Beach Broadcast. Today is Friday, June 20th, 2025. Thank you so much for joining us on X as a subscriber and on Locals. We had a really great live yesterday on Locals, so it was wonderful. I do want to just highlight that if you are looking for all of my video links or anything like that, you can always go to my links page. Like I said, I am having some complications on the back end with Rumble, but I'm trying to find out a solution, so hopefully I can get it figured out by Monday. And then we have everything up on YouTube with the comment section open. I know that was turned off by accident, so that was my bad. And then I think I was so excited to have a YouTube channel back, so I get excited. I know they haven't treated me well, and Rumble has, but we're having technical issues on the back end. And then all my social media is right here. Well, our boss man, President Trump, he's just dropping bombs after bombs after bombs. One is a post that Elon had mentioned about 2 weeks ago. The most entertaining outcome is most likely. Then there is the 2020 fraud domino effect, the election fraud domino effect. President Trump, he calls for a special prosecutor for the 2020 election fraud. Here we go. Talk about these chess moves, right? So I'm putting threads together rather than individual posts just because I want to kind of collectively put everything in one category so it's easier for you to read. I have them on thread reader roll so it's easy for you to share them if you wanted to. But the most entertaining outcome is likely. Now today we have a delta and it is a June 20 delta. Let me just go ahead and show that to you. Look at this. Okay, so it is June 20th and together where we go on, we go all. Winning Q, then Q again. Look for more direct confirmations. It's time. And it is time. So many people, patriots and surfers and anons are saying, oh, we've heard this before. We heard this before. The biggest difference now is that it is coming from either President Trump or his administration. It's not coming from our digs. We've been digging for several years now. We've been saying, hey, this is what's going on. This is what's happening. What President Trump is doing, he's giving vindication to you. It's delayed years later, which is now, because he needs to time it all right. Yeah. What you had shared back in 7 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 months ago is all now coming to fruition. But the big part of this Q post is it's time. So what I really want to cover, is just kind of giving you a little summation of what the craziness is going to be about. President Trump, people are really they're pushing their own narrative. They're provoking Trump. They're having interviews with very big names and saying crazy things. President Trump, he's really saying trust Trump. Caroline Leavitt said trust Trump, right? Decision in 2 weeks. OBB, no kickbacks for dirty Democrats and rhinos. That's really what it boils down to. And all this beautiful prosperity happening for you. They're even being very transparent about it by putting up a calculator so you could see how much you could actually save. The tariffs, it gives us a surplus of revenues. The fake news media and the Democrats aren't even talking about that, and that one's really big. DNC is broke. 2020 election fraud is officially exposed by the Trump team and by President Trump's FBI, Kash Patel. Congress voted that the J6 committee was illegitimate, and that J6 committee, remember, it was formed because of the 2020 election, and they were saying, you can't say that. And it was like, yeah, you can. Clinton, and then remember, I'm just giving a summation also about President Trump exposing Clinton, Obama, Biden, DOJ, FBI, and much, much more. And then I'm going to close this with the most entertaining outcome is most likely post, which is really big. So I'm going to have you listen to this clip from Caroline Leavitt. Check this out.
Trust in President Trump. President Trump has incredible instincts, and President Trump kept America and the world safe in his first term as president in implementing a peace through strength foreign policy agenda. And as I just told you from the president directly, he will make a decision within 2 weeks.
A follow-up.
Within 2 weeks. Okay, so again, we talked about this yesterday on my podcast. It puts us to July 3rd. Now, the OBB, that one big beautiful bill, is a very, very, very big bill because it does make the tax plan permanent. Okay, and there's many other really great things in terms of the prosperity, the savings that an American family will get. Secretary Treasurer Scott Bessent, remember, he had mentioned that it should pass by July 4th. Now you can click on here and listen to the video, but he's talking about it should pass. He's mentioned this many times, doing the media circuit many times. So he's looking at July 4th. Again, that's in that 2-week category, 2-week mark. Now, one of the big things is that the tariffs, they're not talking, the Democrats aren't talking about the tariffs. They're saying it's going to cost $2.3 trillion in spending. Scott Bessent, and you can click on the link, but Scott Bessent has already said it's actually going to give us a surplus. It's going to give us, and again, I'm giving you a conservative amount, at $2.8 trillion in just tariff revenues, and that's a very conservative amount. And then you subtract the $2.3 trillion in spending over 10 years, it gives us a $5 billion surplus. And again, that's just a conservative amount. So that's what the Democrats aren't talking about. They don't want you to know about it. They don't like this, again, because why? It's not going to the Federal Reserve. It's not going to their IRS. This is not tax dollars. This is tariff dollars. Tariff dollars goes to the DHS. And, it was reported just yesterday, the DNC, they're broke. They have no moolah. While President Trump, he's conquered the enemies in D.C. with his display of the victory and celebration with the military parade. The fallout of the DNC is just beginning. Just beginning. Remember, the U.S. aid is also shut down, too. And, boy, we're seeing a lot of infighting going on right now from, people, that... Well, there's a lot of infighting going on right now with quote unquote fake MAGAs. I'll just just take out the quotes, fake MAGAs versus fake MAGAs. Okay. It's interesting. And they're also, so the DNC is shrinking faster than the Titanic. It's a really good article from Town Hall. But this is where it actually gets very interesting. President Trump, he posted 0 border crossings for the month for Trump. 0. That means, okay, I'm just going to stop right here. No Democrat voters crossed the line. 0. So they don't have their voters. The Democrats are losing it. They don't have their voter base. They can't go ahead and tap into any kind of monies from the government. Doge is exposing all the fraud, et cetera, et cetera. I'm going to share a clip with you in just a moment. But 0 border crossings for the month for Trump versus 260,000 for Sleepy Joe Biden, who lost the 2020 presidential election by a landslide. Biden was grossly incompetent, and the 2020 election was a total fraud. The evidence is massive and overwhelming. A special prosecutor must be appointed. This cannot be allowed to happen again in the United States of America. Let the work begin. What this crooked man and his corrupt cronies have done to our country in 4 years is grossly indescribable. Make America great again. This is where the fallout begins. Just ran a Q post on election interference, and this one popped up. It was Q knew that in 2019, because this is a Q post from December 18th of 2019, the 2020 election interference would happen, and Anons did all the work that we could do to prevent this from happening. Yet somehow the dumbest candidate on the planet, Joe Biden 2.0, he got installed like a toilet. Let me read this post to you. It must be done right. It must be done according to the rule of law. It must carry weight. It must be proven in the court of law. I'm going to stop right there. Okay, I'm still going to read more. This is a sign of people saying, well, why isn't it happening now? Because of this. President Trump, because he's so targeted, and you're going to hear more in this podcast, he's so targeted, they have to go ahead and cross every T, dot every I, make sure everything is done exactly by the rule of law. And that's what he's doing. He's presented all of the evidence through Kash Patel to Congress, and then it's got to go through its channels. Now, I hope to goodness it doesn't take forever, but let's see what happens, okay? There can be no mistakes. Good things sometimes take time. Attempts to slow/block the inevitable justice will fail. I'm going to stop right there. Dirty judges are trying to stop Trump, and they're trying to release that one prisoner from the ICE detention center, and they're doing a bunch of bad things, and Trump keeps winning and winning them. So he's got to expose. They have to, what he's allowing them to do, again, in the normie timeline, not the Anon. The Anons know that a lot of these judges already got dealt with, but the normie timeline, is that they have to go ahead and start committing, recommitting, or doing all these crimes in front of them so that they can understand, okay, this was a crime. I'm voting against something that is anti-America. I'm going to rule on that. And I'm going to go ahead and keep releasing more and more illegals into our country. Isn't that called treason? Didn't these judges take an oath? Yeah. Okay. Just throwing that out there. You decide. Now, so that those attempts to switch and to slow and block the inevitable is going to fail. Democrat election interference 2016. Clinton Hussein illegal FISA, Dem election interference 2018, Mueller, again, Mueller was a special prosecutor, so is that a sign of a special prosecutor? Dems election interference 2020, impeachment, projection, these people are sick, we the people are the cure, Q. And I just read an article today about how the Democrats are trying to find any reason to go ahead and impeach Trump again. And it's like, come on, you had the invisible guy, and then it was some stupid word that, the one of the Congress people says, I'm going to do it because he hurt my, I'm just hurt. And it's like, that's not a valid reason to impeach somebody, but they're wasting taxpayer dollars and they're showing it to the world. So this is where the dives come in for me. Okay. The January 6, 2021 scandalous committee, they were the sham J6 committee. It was formed because of the 2020 election, because President Trump said election interference, election fraud, election interference. And they were like, So they formed a committee, but the committee was considered in 2024. Congress ruled this J6 committee was illegitimate. J6 committee hid and destroyed evidence. They deceived the public with their lies, and also their deception was they didn't disclose everything, every video, every testimony. No, they only selectively picked what they needed to in order to go ahead and make it look like it was it was the insurrection. There was no insurrection. It was this is what happened. The FBI was the one that was blasting and beating up and hurting the MAGA people. MAGA people didn't come there armed. They didn't come there with anything. They came there with their spirit of love for the country, and they wanted to make sure that the election wasn't going to get certified. They weren't going to be violent about it, but they just came there to support President Trump because President Trump was going to be there for the speech, which he was. I know a lot of you don't want to see a lot of this because you've seen it before, but I'm just going to share this. This account on X has a lot of very, very strong proofs of what really happened. And many of you are new to the movement. You maybe became new to the movement maybe about a few months ago, and you really don't understand what really happened on J6. This is what happened. The law enforcement, the FBI, they provoked the crowd. The crowd was only defending themselves. And then here we have a reporter asking we're asking President Trump questions about the pardons that he gave for the J6 prisoners. Listen to what he has to say because it ties into all of the videos that have been shared by you and by this account as well. Check this out.
You're going to honor first responders today, but you pardoned hundreds of people who assaulted first responders. Why did you do that?
Who? I'm sorry?
You were going to meet with first responders today.
Yeah.
But you pardoned people who assaulted first responders.
No, I pardoned people that were assaulted themselves. They were assaulted by our government. I pardoned J6 people who were assaulted by our government. That's who assaulted. And they were treated unfairly. There's never been a group of people in this country, outside of maybe one instance that I can think of, but I won't get into it, that were treated more horribly than the people of J6. So,
did this committee even care to look at any of that? No, they did not. They didn't want to share it. They didn't want to share testimony, anything like that had anything to that would vindicate President Trump and the MAGA supporters and all the prisoners. This is a Breitbart article, and it was written on April 18th of 2024, a little over a year ago, that the January 6th committee Democrats say they fear Trump will put them in jail. Oh, I think it's going to be a lot more than that, probably trial in front of everybody, and who knows how it's going to all play out, right? But remember, let's not forget the Autopen, because we got a lot of moving parts, okay? We got many, many things coming, so a lot can happen in 2 weeks. The Autopen is used by Biden and Obama since Joe Biden 2.0 stole the election. It used an Autopen. It was a 2.0 Joe Biden too, remember? President Trump references Joe Biden's Autopen pardons as void, vacant, and of no further force or effect. Pretty much saying that's all done. It's all void. Again, you're wondering how come nothing's happening right now? It's all about the timing. Gateway Pundit posted an article about Obama using an Autopen. And so will all of, and did he use the Autopen to sign certain things, certain executive orders, certain proclamations? Again, I know many of you are saying he was not legitimate in the first place. Everything he's done should be void. Let's see how everything plays out. We know that President Trump's got to map things out. His team has got to map things out for the next 2 weeks. But what will be the aftermath of after 2 weeks, right? That's how I look at this here. And then Trump already exposed Joe Biden as being the E word. I can only say the E word, otherwise this video doesn't get posted anywhere. But there's no Joe Biden. Blank. It was done with in 2020, right? Okay. Now Trump is exposing Obama twice now for the $1.7 billion in cash to Iran. Check this out. He shared a very similar post before, but this one here has Obama sitting with piles of cash. This cash went into containers and got shipped over to Iran. But Iran holds a lot of the swamp secrets. And again, in the normies' eyes, they're going, oh, wow, this is, if they're a liberal, they're not going to be, they'll be oblivious. But if they're somebody that's not quite an awake conservative, they're going to say, once this all gets released, President Trump will say, I got this from Iran. I got this from the leaders in Iran that they say that Obama gave him money. President Trump is really going after Obama, but he's been going after everybody else. So remember this coup post about Obamagate. It's a lot bigger than Watergate, right? Now, remember President Trump, he already exposed Hillary in the past with all of the sudden deaths of the people that surrounded her life, including somebody who ran against her for the state Senate seat. The Senate seat for New York, the U.S. Senate seat for New York, which is JFK Jr. Now, in this video clip, I'm just going to play the first part of it. In this video clip, it does, he actually does not say, well, listen to it very carefully, okay? I'm just going to play just a few minutes or a few seconds of this.
Remember John F. Kennedy Jr., who was declared the front runner for the New York Senate seat back in 1999. Days later, his plane crashed into the Atlantic Ocean, and his rival, Hillary Clinton, was elected senator. Mary Mahoney was a Clinton White House intern. She knew enough of the inner workings of Bill's sexual advancements to be a star witness during the Clinton impeachment trials. She was brutally executed at a Starbucks she was managing in 1997. In 1993,
you all knew about a lot of these things, right? So let's just see how everything starts to play out, because he's targeting, Obama a couple times, Hillary, Biden, many different crimes of Biden. Now today, Greg Kelly, he goes ahead and he reports, he's from Newsmax. He reported that the FBI and DOJ was doing whatever they could to nail Trump. President Trump did retweet this video clip. Check this out. Unfortunately, I'm not able to publish the clip, so you can click on the article link below and you can get access to the clip on what Greg Kelly says. But bottom line is that he does talk about Merrick Garland, Jack Smith, and FBI, how they were all out to get President Trump. And this is from J.P. Cooney, and he introduces who he is. He is a former federal prosecutor. And can we do some work to nail down Trump's role in this? According to the Forbes article, Trump recorded the Pledge of Allegiance at Mar-a-Lago, and Kash Patel's is involved. I'll talk to Maria, Aaron, and Julia about doing some more follow-up here to nail down Trump's role. Again, they had nothing. So you've got the prosecutors that are after him. You have the old FBI regime as well that were after him. Esther and I are working on this today. This is the response from the FBI special agent, Walter, whatever his last name, to J.P. Cooney. Esther and I are working on this today. We're going to put together our findings at 2 and get something to you shortly after that. So they're all working together to try and take him down. It's like, come on. And then he exposes Merrick Garland and the different kinds of deceitful things that Merrick Garland, and then of course Jack Smith, the same thing. And so we are going to be able to see much of this exposed. I hope it does come soon enough. But if it doesn't happen in the next 2 weeks, again, we'll see the fallout happen post July 4th, 2025. And now President Trump, he's on his wheels up to New Jersey right now. But he is saying Trump can't let Iran have nuclear weapons. But listen to what he says about the people out there. This reporter, you can hardly hear him, but the reporter is making remarks about Mike Pompeo and Lindsey Graham. Listen to this.
What's been right about that?
ICE.
Ukraine, you've been making progress towards a peace deal, but I don't know if you know this, but Lindsey Graham and Mike Pompeo were there on the ground in Ukraine, seemingly doing the opposite, trying to provoke the Ukrainians to keep fighting. What do you think of that?
Well, we're going to see, and people have to be very careful with what they say. They got to be very careful with their mouth, because their mouth can get them into a lot of trouble.
What's been right about that?
Oh, and this was posted by Nick Sortor. Now, President Trump, he says people have got to be very careful with their mouth. Let me just scroll up here. He's saying people have got to be very careful with their mouth. In other words, this reporter was making a remark about Lindsey Graham and Mike Pompeo was in Ukraine, and President Trump was talking peace, and they were out there provoking to continue the war. And when President Trump responded, aren't we seeing that kind of narrative happening right now? Is he talking to everyone, saying people have got to be very careful with what they say? They got to be very careful with their mouth, because their mouth can get them into a lot of trouble. I believe, in my humble opinion, you decide, he is sending a strong message to all this fighting that's going on right now. All of these people making comments about provoking President Trump. Again, we talked about this earlier about, there's an agenda that they all have, and President Trump is known to be the peace president, right? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I'll tell you, President Trump, he is not afraid. He's not out here to make friends. He's out here to run a country and to get our country back on track and to make sure there's peace around the world. Listen to what he says. You can hear the reporter very clearly on this footage.
What intelligence do you have that Iran is building a nuclear weapon? Your intelligence community has said they have no evidence that they are at this point.
Well, then my intelligence community is wrong. Who in the intelligence community said that?
Your director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard.
She's wrong.
Remember, President Trump is going to be playing a lot of 5D chess over the next couple weeks, even more. But he's going to be playing a lot of 5D chess, guys. So I'll just leave it at that. I want to address this comment today from Bryce Rasmussen. He says, Canadian here, been in on this since 2017, been following you for a few years. I get down up here. He's in Canada. No one to talk to. It's all hating on Trump. They don't really know, but I listen to you and some others, and it's okay. Canada's time is next. I'll keep listening. Bryce, can I just share something with you? And I really appreciate you sharing that. It is all about the timing. This past week, President Trump, he signed a deal with UK. Now, the UK, think about this. The Commonwealth nations under the UK would include Canada, Australia, the list goes on. There's 35 Commonwealth nations, 34 Commonwealth nations with the UK. So do know he signed a deal, and that didn't make headlines. So what is behind that deal? So hang tight. It's all about the timing. It's all about the timing. Back in 2017, President Trump walked in as the president and had to kind of get his bearings straight on the inner workings of how the swamp works. Hired some people, let him go a few weeks later or a few months later. Then in 2021, he was the commander-in-chief behind the scenes, touting USMCA. Yeah, he's been touting. Oh yeah, the US. Nobody in the crowd really understood it because there's not a lot of details about it. And then remember also in 2020, President Trump unveiled the birth of Space Force. So there's a lot more that they were able to detect. Now they have the machine and the power to do many, many, many things, Bryce. So hang tight, Canada, hang tight, okay? And you're all so great about keeping me informed. But Patriot Realtor posted this. Trump posted this on Truth Social. Get this, okay. It says, thank you, DJT. It was the golden age. Hang tight. Watch this. Oh my gosh. The golden age. It's a picture of President Trump, and he's got gold all around him. Donald J. Trump, 45, 47, 48. We need this winning to continue. The 48 was the biggie, guys. So again, he's sending a lot more hints. But this is what really got me all stoked here. President Trump through Il Donato, he was posting this. Most entertaining outcome is most likely. Didn't Elon say that? And he's got a video clip of both him and Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk did say that about a week or two ago. He's got President himself, of course, dancing. And he's got beautiful Melania right next to him doing the dance as well. Then he's got Elon to the other side of him. So we will see how this all plays out. Remember last week at this time before the military parade, and he said, nothing's going to interfere with my parade. Nothing's going to interfere. We didn't really realize. I love this video too because he's also got Elon in it. But we didn't really realize how big and how significant the parade was going to be. Yeah, we thought it was going to be, hey, it's going to be a military parade. We're going to watch, and then all of a sudden we were just glued for 3 hours watching the parade, listening to the comms, all of the comms and all the messages. Well, now we've got President Trump posting this, but it gets even better. He even posted this. And they're celebrating, okay? I've been waiting for the weekend since Monday. So let's see. I know many of you are saying, I'm so tired, Santa. Please just have faith in God. This is, somebody had said, I'm tired. These hardships are hitting many, many, many lives right now and many families. And this is really the test on faith and how God is going to work through you and to you. Only if we ask, but he wants us to continue to see this as our outcome, manifesting greatness, manifesting, celebrating. It's hard for some people that are just in the weeds right now and just can't see above it. They're just stuck. And I get it. I've been there before. And I'll say, you got two choices. You could stay there and just like try, or separate yourself, stand away from it and say, okay, how can I just shift my gears and start looking at this a little bit differently so I can progress in my life, even though I got everything against me. I got to work forward and got to keep moving forward and progressing, because you're not a quitter. People that watch this show, you do not quit. You don't sit there idle and let people step on your faces. Man, you fight. You fought for a long time, and now we are so close. So the biggest difference now versus today than, let's say, a year ago or even as short as 6 months ago before President Trump came back into office in the public eye, is that he's the one that's actually making these announcements. His team, the same thing, not us. So that's the biggest difference. So let's see how it all plays out. Hang in there. Let's just enjoy the weekend. Have a beautiful, beautiful weekend. And I forgot to mention Happy Father's Day last Saturday. So I was so enthralled with everything else going on. So I hope you all did have a beautiful Father's Day and celebration, or those fathers that are up in heaven right now. They're watching you and saying, okay, kiddo, I'm so proud of you. So keep up the great work with what you're doing, okay? Remember, President Trump, he sees all. Now that he's got Space Force, he sees all. He's listening to all. So he wants to make sure you're all manifesting nothing but good thoughts and good things. I know it sounds crazy, but I'll tell you, it does work. So stay positive, stay full of faith, and know that God's got you and God's got this. Have a beautiful weekend, and I will have a show on Monday. Aloha.